And they tell me that they are optimistic as ever about what their future holds. So the special starting today at 3 o'clock on News 12 and News12.com. Check it out. Terry 3 more times. And join the lecture.
Ready?
Yeah, very good.
All right, we're going to start.
Okay. Good afternoon. We're here today to talk about some new reporting by Gothamist about serious allegations of police corruption in Mount Vernon and how those were handled by the district attorney in Westchester. And I'm joined, we'll probably be joined by some more, but right now by State Senator Alessandro Biaggi and Jeff Deskovic, who is a exoneree himself and runs the Deskovic Foundation, which works to help exonerate other people. When these issues that were first reported by Gothamist on June 3rd, this district attorney's response was dismissive and dishonest. He called them hearsay and uncorroborated allegations. He said his office had done an exhaustive investigation. He said it was irresponsible for me and others to ask the Attorney General to take over the investigation. And now he's accusing the reporter who wrote these stories, who investigated them, of somehow undermining a non-existent investigation. But now we know the truth. We have further evidence that these statements from Mr. Scarpino were lies. This morning's article reveals that, in fact, the DA had an officer, a second officer, not just the whistleblower, Officer Bavell, but a second officer, John Campo, on tape describing his own actions of hiding drugs to allow a violent drug dealer avoid prosecution. His own actions he was describing. Any first-year law student can tell you, by definition, that is not hearsay. That is evidence and corroboration of the other claims. We also now have recorded evidence that the investigation by this DA was anything but exhaustive. 9 months into it, Mr. Scarpino's own investigator confirmed, and this is on a recording made by Officer Bavell, that he had not even spoken to Officer Campo. He had not even done surface level research into the case 9 months after getting these tapes. Now, in his own words, Mr. Scarpino, since this reporting has come out, has said that his office is waiting for any witnesses who want to come forward to come forward. That's not an investigation. Maybe it's due to Mr. Scarpino's lack of experience as a prosecutor, but it's pretty common knowledge that you don't investigate by waiting for witnesses to just show up and evidence to just fall into your lap. There are multiple steps that could have been taken over a year ago. Wiretaps on the officers' phones could have been applied for. Talking to defendants who were arrested by these officers to see if their stories matched the whistleblower's allegations. Mr. Scarpino did none of that. An organization called the Exoneration Project, they are doing it on their own. They are doing the job that the district attorney should be doing. And now we have further information, both from the Gothamist article and from the Exoneration Project, that a number of individuals arrested by these allegedly tainted officers have claims of actual innocence, which were ignored by Mr. Scarpino's office until the first Gothamist article was published and until it became an issue in this campaign, a political problem for him. And we know that he allowed a CI, Mr. Scarpino allowed a CI to operate while he had new arrests for domestic violence. How can Mr. Scarpino say with a straight face, as he does, that he believes in conviction integrity? What's most troubling, however, is the DA's lack of understanding that this isn't about him. This isn't even about this campaign. It's about the damage that this situation is causing to his office's reputation, the prosecutor of this county, to the state of police community relations, and to the cause of justice at a time when we need to rebuild trust more than ever. The DA's non-engagement, his failure to truly investigate, his attempts to falsely dismiss these allegations and demonize his critics, his efforts to silence the press, demonstrate clearly that either he doesn't understand, doesn't appreciate, or doesn't care about the gravity of this situation. When I raised these issues, back when the reporting first came out, he himself and through a surrogate falsely attacked me. When prominent elected officials like City Council President from Yonkers, Mike Cater, withdrew their endorsement of him because of these allegations, Mr. Scarpino attacked that elected official on a non-related issue. When the mayor of the second largest city in Westchester, Mayor Sean Patterson Howard from Mount Vernon, called him useless, called Mr. Scarpino useless on public corruption, on police misconduct, and that she said that she doesn't have confidence in him to handle these concerns. He said it was the city's fault. It was Mount Vernon's fault. No, Mr. Scarpino, it's your job to investigate these. He can continue to take no responsibility for the actions of his office. He can continue to say no corroboration over and over. He can continue to lie about the facts of this case, about me, about who's funding his campaign. But all of this just adds to the public's understanding that he cannot be trusted to investigate allegations of systemic corruption in Mount Vernon or in Westchester more broadly. And this is why we need a change in the DA's office desperately, and we need the Attorney General to step in and take over this case and the DA's handling of it. Thank you, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Deskovic.
Thank you. My name is Jeff Deskovic, and I'm the founder of the Jeffrey Deskovic Foundation for Justice, which works to exonerate the wrongfully convicted and aimed at preventing wrongful convictions. I was wrongfully convicted here in Westchester in this very courthouse by a district attorney whose ethics were not above board. A number of points. Firstly, Westchester DA Scarpino has no conviction integrity unit. This is part of the reason why we need to have a conviction integrity unit. The idea that innocent people are arrested, there's no unit to take those claims seriously and do an objective review and free people, dismiss cases where warranted, that's a really serious problem with the Westchester DA's office. A separate issue is for the Westchester DA's office to allow the Mount Vernon Police Department to use drug dealers as confidential informants in order to arrest drug buyers, people that have drug problems. That's backwards. Who is a greater threat to society? People pushing the poison into our communities, or people who have a problem which requires them to receive drug rehab? And another important issue is this. With everything that's going on across the country, with everything going on across the country with respect to police misconduct, when officers do the right thing and come forward with information, for the district attorney's office to do nothing with it, how is that being proactive to root out corruption in the police department? How does that help to restore public trust? It's a violation of public trust. District Attorney Scarpino simply cannot be entrusted with the district attorney's office any longer. And I again call for the voters on June 23rd, vote District Attorney Scarpino out of office. We need a district attorney with integrity who's going to be all about transparency. That's Mimi Rocah. Thank you. I'm going to turn it over now to Senator Biaggi.
Good afternoon. afternoon. I am proud to stand here today with two individuals who are full of integrity. If there is one thing right now that we have to make sure that we're doing, it is that there is transparency and accountability when it comes to our law enforcement, and that includes our DA's offices. A lot of the conversations that we're having today are solely focused on our police and our police departments, but let us not forget about our DA's offices and the importance of our DA's offices across the state of New York, across the country, having integrity. The very fact that the Westchester County DA's office does not have a conviction integrity unit should signal something to every single New Yorker, not just every single Westchester County resident, that there is a breakdown, there is something going wrong inside of the Westchester County DA's office. This case, I am sure, is one of many, but what it signals to individuals like myself, who care very deeply, as the chair of the Ethics Committee in Albany, as someone who truly believes in the power of government and the transformational value of government and what it can do to increase and improve and make all of our lives better. This is unacceptable. It is unacceptable. You know, when we look across the country and we watch as individuals are protesting police brutality and standing up against the murder of George Floyd and so many individuals who have died in the hands of police officers, the one thing that I have heard over and over and over again is, where are the good cops? Where are the good police? Well, in this very case, we had individuals who came forward to be honest, to be transparent, to share information, to really make sure that accountability was first and foremost at the front of this case, and yet they were not taken seriously, and more importantly, their case was pushed aside. That sends a signal. That sends a signal to all officers that when you speak up, when you come forward, that you will not be listened to. We cannot afford to have any law enforcement office, whether it's the police department or the DA's office, especially in a county like Westchester, have a situation where we are silencing people. Every single person's voice matters, especially if we are going to work towards rebuilding trust. This is one of many reasons why I am standing with Mimi Rocah. This is one of many reasons why I am voting and making sure everybody else will be voting for Mimi Rocah on Tuesday, June 23rd. And this is one of the many reasons why we need a change in our DA's office in Westchester County. Before I end today, I just want to highlight one very important thing, which I mentioned in the beginning of when I began to speak, which was the Conviction Integrity Unit. This is one of the most important platforms that Mimi stands for. It is essential to make sure that we have a unit like this, because we have to be reviewing cases where individuals who were convicted wrongly are exonerated. It is not right, and it is not fair, and it does not lend itself to building trust among the public and our law enforcement if we do not have this unit. And it is noteworthy to mention, before I end today, that this was not even an idea in the current DA's mind until Mimi Rocah put it as a plan or as part of her platform to run for the Westchester County DA. So for those of you who are tuning in, think very, very long and hard about what you want your Westchester County DA's office to be. One of integrity, one of transparency, one of accountability, or one where we are just upholding the status quo and completely breaking down trust amongst our community, our elected officials, and those who rely on law enforcement and need them to protect and to serve their communities. Thank you.
Any questions?
So Scarpino says that this is just a last-minute political ploy to try to make something of nothing. He says that the case is under investigation in terms of being able to speak publicly about it. He can't really talk about it because it is under investigation. And events like this jeopardize that very investigation?
So first of all, these allegations came out not through my campaign, but by a reporter, an investigative reporter who has done 2 now very detailed, clearly thorough investigations, and they were only made public, these allegations and these reportings, when the DA's office didn't act for over a year. So look, as a prosecutor, I would prefer that a DA's office do its job and do it through the grand jury process and do covert investigation before things become public. But the DA here did none of that. All he said is that he tried to interview the police officers who were accused of misconduct, and none of them wanted to talk. That is not an investigation. He can say now that the investigation is ongoing, but those are just words. That's just semantics. There's nothing he is actively doing. And we now know, we knew that from the first article. Now we've actually heard recordings of someone in Mr. Scarpino's office acknowledging, it was 9 months into the investigation, and he said, was asking how to spell the officer's name, the corroborating officer. So, he can say it's under investigation, but that's just words. And also, I just want to make the point that to the extent he's claiming this investigation is ongoing, why did he continue to use these officers then, if they are under investigation for such serious allegations, to continue to use them to swear out search warrants, to do affidavits to arrest people? Those 2 things, he can't have it both ways and say it's under investigation, but yes, I'm going to continue using them. So I think, he's saying now it's under investigation because, frankly, he got caught not doing his job, and that's a problem. Oh, we are now joined by Tasha Diaz from Yonkers City Council, and I believe she would like to speak as well.
Hello, everyone. As you all know, I'm Tasha Diaz, Yonkers City Council, District 3. I also made it a point to endorse Mimi Rocah for the simple fact that all of the allegations that have been brought forth and have not been addressed, that is part of the problem. There are a lot of things that are sitting on people's desks that are not being addressed. Now is the time for change. Now is the time to stop being scared. Now is the time to come out and let your voice be heard. On Tuesday, please come out and vote for positive change. And it starts right here. Everything that she has brought forth to you is because she's showing and proving before she gets in that seat that she is fighting for the residents. So that right there lets you know that is step 1. Step 2 is when she wins on June 23rd. And step 3 will be when we stand with her for that positive change that is needed and will come to Westchester County. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm sorry I'm late. I'm Shanae Williams. I'm the council member for the 1st District in the city of Yonkers. And I'm standing here today, another press conference with Mimi Rocah to emphasize the importance of getting rid of the current district attorney. He has not served the people of Westchester the way he should. And it's time for change. We've seen it. There's evidence. Transparency is everything. And I believe that Mimi Rocah will bring that transparency that is absolutely necessary to the district attorney's office. We need that. Time is running out. We have a few days, but we have to get those votes in. Vote for the right person. Vote for the person who cares about you and making sure that justice is served. Vote for that person, and that person is, in fact, Mimi Rocah. Thank you.
An additional point that I would like to make is that police officer misconduct certainly is extremely relevant to police officer credibility, which a lot of criminal cases come down to. If the officers are engaging in corrupt behavior, how can we trust the evidence that they gather? How can we know that their testimony is truthful? We can't. The district attorney never turned over any of that information to defense lawyers who are representing clients who have current cases. He never turned it over to defense attorneys who are representing their clients post-conviction. If this story hadn't broken, that information still would not be known and would not be able to have been utilized in the efforts to try to exonerate the wrongfully convicted. Yet another reason why we need a change in the Westchester District Attorney's Office.
The last thing I just want to say is I mentioned the Exoneration Project. The Legal Aid Society of Westchester has also sent a letter, which we've put, I believe, on an article that I wrote. It links to it. We can send that to you. They wrote a letter asking Governor Cuomo to direct that the Attorney General investigate how the DA has handled this. They are very concerned, obviously. This is not a political issue that is being created. This is something that defense attorneys who represent people charged with crimes in our county are very concerned with, because it is a violation of a prosecutor's ethics to not reveal this information over this period of time, these kinds of allegations. Thank you.